Welcome back to the TBR Podcasts. We're your hosts. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Bree.
And today we have a very special guest, Amanda, here. She is the owner of the romance-only bookstore called The Last Chapter, based in Chicago. Hi, Amanda. We're so glad you're here with us today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on. I am so honored to be here.
And we're honored that you're honored to be here.
Period.
So we'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this business, and how you created your own bookstore, because that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually got my bachelor's degree in sports management and business. So I always tell people my past life is so different from my life now.
Yeah.
Very different life. And I used to work at different sports parks all around the US. So I worked at a few here in Chicago, and then I worked in Kentucky for a little bit. I did some work with professional sports teams for a little bit. And I think it was just like the age of when COVID happened, I really realized that I was just pursuing a dream that was no longer mine. And after just trying to run a sports park during COVID was exhausting.
I couldn't
even imagine.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And I just kind of hit that point. I always call it that 25 wall. I feel like when you hit 25 years old, life just changes so much for you.
Yeah.
And I hit that 25 wall and I was like, yeah, I can't actually spend the rest of my life doing this. I just couldn't.
Nah.
And so I quit my job and everyone was like, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And I was like, I'll let you know when I find out, actually.
Right.
So I moved back home with no plan. And I had always said that when I retired, I wanted to own a romance only bookstore. Cause in my head, I had this vision of me with my walker and slippers in my muumuu and a cardigan over, selling romance novels to people and just being that crazy, quirky old lady that you're like, I really just bought a smutty book from an 80-year-old woman.
Love
It's
it.
always been my dream. And I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and what I wanted my life to look like. And it was just this voice in the back of my head that was like, start your bookstore, start your bookstore. And mind you, I've worked in business, but I've never owned my own business.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone around me who's ever owned their own business or anything like that. I'm a first generation student. So I really had to figure out my life without any guidance in a sense.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, well, let's just see what it takes to do this. And I read a bunch of articles. I listened to a bunch of talks, and I love knowledge in any form. So I just always want to learn. So I was just trying to consume it all as much as I possibly could. And I remember when I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I literally had a fuck it moment. And I said, I'm going to do this. If it takes 10 years to be successful, it takes 10 years. And I think why this worked out so well for me is that I didn't have expectations for immediate success. I fully thought this would take me years to do. And December 8th of 2021, I didn't tell a single soul. I had finalized all the paperwork, the notoriety, everything. And then I just remember sitting in my bedroom. I lived with my mom at this time because I just moved back home. And I remember sitting in my bedroom with literally $15 in my bank account. And I said, so what's next? I was like, okay. And I think I announced it publicly December 31st. And I had talked to a few of my author friends and stuff like that. And they were like, well, what is it going to be? And I was like, it's going to be all romance. It's just going to be a place of peace for our community. And that has always been my goal, is a safe haven for all things romance. So yeah, I announced publicly December 31st of 2021. We started all online. So I did book boxes, merchandising, book conventions and stuff like that, just to really grow within the industry, but also to learn the industry from a new lens that wasn't just a publicist or a reader.
Yeah.
And I attended I'm part of the American Booksellers Association. And so I attended their How to Open a Bookstore class. I remember I took the class And I left that class and I said, I can apply maybe 50% of this. And that's just because genre specific bookstores weren't really around
Yep.
back then.
Yep.
They were, I think when I opened up the last chapter, there was maybe like 5 or 6 that I knew of.
Yeah.
They just weren't really around, but I took the class and then I kind of like sat down and I said, okay, take what you know from the class, take what you know just from business in general, and then take what you've learned from marketing at a sports park, operations at a business, like because really a lot of those skills are transferable.
Right.
And I remember I wrote a dream list. Like I wrote my dream list and I said, this is like in my dream bookstore, this is what it has. And then I had my list of non-negotiables. So I sat my agent down. I said, here you go. And she said, uh-huh, right. And she goes, so what's your timeline? I was like, 10 years. Like that's my timeline. And she's like, oh, okay, bet. And I think we looked at 32 different locations. And it was just at all of them, it just didn't feel right. There was always, it was either something missing or something I would have to like kind of not accommodate, but like compromise on that I wasn't willing to.
What was some of your like non-negotiables, if you remember?
A lot of lighting, like really big windows, because I personally love to like sit by the window and the lighting, very spacious in a way that like I think wider rather than longer, just because I feel like I kind of think of it as like when you're walking in with like your friends, if it's long, you can't walk side by side.
I love.
That having a bathroom, just because I think that,
Oh my God, yes.
I've been to stores where there's no bathroom and then
That's the worst.
Yeah, and it cuts my experience short too if I want to spend time.
Exactly.
And then a kitchen area just because I wanted to make sure that my staff had a place to like have food and like water and like all of those type of things.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm trying to think. This is sound like very niche, but like I wanted tall ceilings. Like I didn't want someone to
No, I totally get it.
Oh yeah.
So tall ceilings and then a really great neighborhood. So a neighborhood that was very inclusive, a neighborhood that the walkability score was at an 88% or above. But the neighborhood was a really big push for me just because the last chapter is so inclusive of everyone. And I didn't want someone to say, hey, like I can go into the store, but when I walk out on the street, I'm not comfortable.
Exactly.
And it was very, very important to me. And luckily I'm from Chicago, so I knew the neighborhoods really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like, it was a lot of like those things that were hard.
Yeah.
And I remember I had kind of like not given up, but I was like, hey, like let's just maybe put this on pause. Like maybe this just isn't the time for the store to happen. And I'm very big on like the universe sending me signs.
Yes.
And I said, maybe this just isn't the time and I'm not going to force it because I think that when this project and this is meant to come into fruition, it will.
Yeah.
Very, very like advocate and big on that. And I remember she was like, okay, well, I have these last 3 for you to look at. And I said, okay, but I'm done after this. Like, I'm done. I'm not like, I'm not going to force something.
Yeah.
And we looked at the other 2. The first one, I walked in and immediately walked out. I was like, yeah, I'm good. She was like, do you want to see? I said, no, have you seen like those storm cellar windows?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is all they had. I said, it's 11 a.m. and it looks like 8 o'clock at night in here. I said, this is a dungeon. Like,
why did you bring me here? Literally.
Right. I was like, this is a dungeon. Like, no. And then the other one was okay, but I didn't get that gut feeling, Like,
it's gotta feel right.
Have that feeling. And I remember when she sent me the 3rd address, and I was like, oh, this sounds so familiar, but I am geographically challenged. So, like, I don't know north to east to west to nothing. Nothing at all. But I just remember I was like, this address seems so familiar. And I was like, whatever. I put in my GPS and I pulled up. And I remember I was in the car and I called my brother and I said, we lived around here. Cause he was like, I just talked to him a lot about business stuff and whatnot. So he was like, well, what's the address? And he was like, girl, we live 2 blocks away. I was like, okay, like I thought so.
What?
And so we got out the car and we looked at the building and stuff. And I remember like walking in and it was the first place that I in my head could say, okay, like bookshelves are gonna go here. And like it was like the first place that spoke to me.
Oh my gosh.
And it checked like all of my boxes. Like obviously I can harp on things like I wish it was bigger and I wish it was this, but I
Right.
also in that same breath feel like it is the perfect size for what I'm wanting to accomplish, right? Because I that's a comment we get a lot of times, like, I just wish it was so much bigger. But you also wouldn't love it if it was bigger, because then it would feel like a commercialized, like,
Yeah.
or like a big chain store, and that's not.
Mhm.
Because that's what makes it feel special, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just the first store that I walked in and I said, this is right and it feels right. And we were in negotiations for, I want to say 2 months, 2.5 months.
Mhm.
And I remember I was on the phone with my lawyer and my agent, and I said, this is what we're gonna send. If they take it, they take it. If they don't, we're just gonna walk away.
Yeah.
And I was at a book convention and my lawyer texted me. He was like, hey, 911 need to call you. And I mean, like, yeah, I was literally like in a towel, fresh out the shower, trying to get dressed to head to this convention. So I'm like, when
Stressing.
you say like 911, I'm thinking something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I slipped, and I had like some friends in my room, and I was like, not that I wouldn't feel comfortable telling my friends, but I was really hush hush about this process.
Right.
And I slipped my headphones in, and I like it's comical. Like, I'm trying to pull leather pants on the phone with this man. And I was like, "Hey Bruce, like what's going on? Like what, like you said 911." And he was like, "Hold on, let me like loop my agent in." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh my God.
okay." And I fully was like, I had this like moment while he was looping her in where I just closed my eyes and I said, if it's not meant to be, the right thing will find you. And I and
Absolutely.
and I put that onto you, and I felt it so wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
I said, if it's meant for me, it'll find me." And I remember they got on the phone and Bruce was like, how does it feel to be a bookstore owner? Because they agreed to all of your terms and conditions. And I like stopped pulling my leather pants on. Yeah. And I said, huh? And he was like, yeah, like he's like they signed everything, like they're agreeing to all of your terms, all of your conditions. He's like, you can pick up the keys next week. And I was like, thanks, I have to go. I am at work.
Like I do.
I said, I do have to go. I said, but can we like pick this back up on Monday? And he was
Oh my
like,
God.
he's like, yeah, I just wanted you to like go into your weekend with some good news. I said, I have to sit in front of hundreds of people these next 2 days and not scream this from the rooftops.
Literally.
And it was just so amazing. Like, it was such an amazing feeling. And I did end up telling like my best friend, she's an author, and I like saw her and she was like, what's wrong? Because it was on my like she's known me for years.
Of
And
course.
Uh-huh.
hey, do you want to take a walk with me? And she was like, okay. And I told her, and she was like, sorry, about to cry. And I was like, hey, we are at work. We can't. I
We're
said,
not doing
"No."
that. What do you mean?
And she was just like just so over the moon. And like, she's, you have that friend that like your friends at personal life, but you're also work friends, and you can talk about your dreams and your struggles and all of that with, and it's
Yeah.
they're never too big. And
Yes.
that's what this like my author friend is for me. Like, my dreams are never too big. So like I had just talked to her like 2 years ago about wanting to do this. So like it was right that she was the first person. And then I announced on social media in May of 2023, and like the outpour of support was just crazy.
Ah,
Like, people were so supportive of it. Like, again, there wasn't many romance only bookstores at the time.
right.
So I think a lot of authors just felt like validated that like what they were doing mattered, and that there was a place that
Yeah.
was going to celebrate them.
Mhm.
So yeah, literally after I got the keys, I got straight to work. I was like, all right, like let's get this popping. Let's figure
Heck
this out,
yeah.
do all the things. And then another thing that most people don't know is that like I'm completely self-funded. So I don't have
Wow.
investors. I don't have anything like that. Like, when I say I poured everything into my company,
Yeah.
like I poured my heart, soul, and money. Like, I've poured everything into this company. So like obviously there's a lot of things that I couldn't do until like this year. There's certain things that I'm like, I want to do this, excuse me, when I open, but like finances be financing. Like, you
Right.
can't
Where's the money coming from?
Mhm.
right. So I just remember I like every piece of my store is so curated. Like,
Yeah.
it's so me. And I think that
I love that.
it was so cathartic for me to just be Amanda, I think, because I've
Yeah.
always been put in these boxes in my life, and even with work, like I had to be this, I had to be that, or if you're this, you can't be that. And
Hmm.
I said, yeah, that's not what this store is going to be. Like, and I know how to merchandise a store. I know, like, obviously for the whole aesthetic of it, but
Yeah.
like and it's so funny because the pieces that people love the most are the store are me. Like they're the pieces
Oh.
you like. And it's really, and I like don't talk about like how deeply every part of the store is so talked about because I think that like like authors say when they write a book, they release it to the world, it's theirs, right? It's the public's now.
Hmm.
And to an extent, the store is too, because I think that everyone's experience in life and reading and romance is so different. It's so vast.
Yeah.
I'm never going to put you in a box of if you're a reader, this is what you need to be. This is
Hmm.
what you need to look like. This is what you need to read. Like, I'm never going to do that. So when you come into the store, I want you to make your own box. I want you to like sow your oats. So, um, like it's just funny when people are like, "Oh my gosh, like this wallpaper is so fun. It's so eccentric. Like it's just so cheeky." And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's like
Yeah.
me. And yeah, so it's been a crazy ride. We're celebrating 2 years this September, and I just sometimes it feels like 5 years, and other times it feels like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
really in the best way. And it's romance as a whole has just popped off since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really
absolutely.
cool to see all of the other like romance bookstores that are popping up and like getting to know them and like really building friendships because no one gets it like someone who's doing the same thing.
Specific community.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so it has been like a whirlwind. There's still so much I want to accomplish and I want to accomplish within the last chapter beyond just owning a store that's very like community focused
I
and
love that.
stuff like that. But I'm learning per my therapist, like it's okay to just enjoy what I've done instead of trying to always move
Absolutely.
on to the next project.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm like on the edge of my seat listening to your
Yeah.
story. I'm like,
No, I feel like so inspired right now.
I'm like, okay, let me go open my bookstore now.
Seriously.
Do it. Like
Yes.
literally, like I always tell people when they're like, I want to do this or I have this, and even if it's not owning a bookstore, right? If it's just
Yeah.
anything, I'm like, listen, I am a first generation, like multicultural woman who did all of this before the age
Literally.
of 30.
Yeah.
Like the only person who's stopping you is you. And then people are
Yeah.
like, well, what about money? What about this? I was working 3 jobs opening up the last chapter.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
worked 2 jobs literally until like the beginning of this year. Like
Yeah.
hustle for that shit, like
Yeah.
if
Hmm.
you want it, go for it. Like and I think that people don't realize that about like like the last chapter and the work behind it. Like I work 7 days a week. I work sometimes 10, 13 hours a day. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. So it's like
Right.
Hmm.
even if I'm working like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., I'm doing something I love and I'm doing something that matters.
Yeah.
And I think especially in this day and age right now, like we all need that. Like I think
Yeah.
we all need safe spaces. We all need joy when we can grab it. And I think we all just not need an escape or like escapism, but we need a place that we can go to just take a breath.
Exactly. Like
Yes.
decompress,
Yeah.
connect with
Yes.
like-minded individuals and feel safe. And oh, I love it.
Yes. Hmm.
Oh my gosh. So, for your bookstore, right? So what did you basically like how do you choose your books going into it? Like, was it at first all romance, doesn't matter which, or were you like, what, I just want a couple, like, how do you choose your books? Where did it grow? All of that.
Yeah, I think how I choose books from when I first started to now is so vastly different because I think
Yeah.
my community has grown.
Mm,
But so when I first started, a lot of it was like books I have read, like I vetted,
yeah.
like and not vetted in a sense, but they're great books. Like there's nothing problematic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
they're books that I know and love. And then I would just ask people, like when I'm at convention, be like, hey, like what are you loving right now? Like
yeah.
what are those books high in your TBR? I did copious amounts of research. Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was all on social medias, I was on the Goodreads, I was in different like PR groups and like Publishers Weekly. Like I wanted to know everything I could possibly know about what's coming out, what's hot, what's not, all of
Right.
those things. So that's how I did it when I first started. And
Mhm.
then something I implemented like the week after I opened was an author suggestion box. And it is where customers, you know, sometimes customers don't like to
Yes.
talk to people. I get it. Like I'm very introverted at times,
Yeah.
but I like how I explain to people is I'm one person, so I have only one point of view of the world. And if I
Right.
only look at life through that one point of view, how limited is that life?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that there's so much value in hearing from others, especially when it comes to things like what books to curate and how to grow the story. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I first opened, I didn't have like a YA section, right? And
Mhm.
now my YA section is 4 shelves deep. There was
Yeah.
so much I didn't know about the LGBTQ plus like community within romance
Yeah.
and so many different facets that you know, now it has grown in what's being offered, but there
For
was so
sure.
much I didn't know about it. So
Yeah.
just like talking to customers and like listening, I was like, wow, like, you know, these are ways that I need to represent. You know, I need to have bi representation, I need to have trans representation. Like, I
Hmm.
can't just have MM or sapphic. Like, it's beyond that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like through that author suggestion box, like I really just learned so much. And then just working the store, like I would overhear conversations or, you know, like if customers were comfortable telling me things in our community events, like it's kind of like an open door policy. And I tell customers this all the time.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. Like, tell me what it is you're loving, or like if the store is lacking representation in something, tell me about it and tell me
Yeah.
if
Yes.
you have recommendations for that so that I can go and search the scorch of the internet to find it,
Right.
you know? Um, like I'll never forget when we first opened, I had someone came in and they said, I really want a sapphic hockey romance book. And at the
Hmm.
time, there were none. And I
Dang.
remember I found a book and I can't think of the name right now, but I found the book and I found this person on Instagram and I said, "Hey, 8 months ago, you
Yeah.
asked for this
Yeah.
recommendation
Oh my God, I love
and
that.
it's now coming out." And they were like, "You remember that?" I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "It has been in the back of my
Same
head because
here.
in my head that was something that we were lacking in the store."
Yeah.
And so it's just like a lot of that and like nowadays it's just a lot of like the internet again. I think
Yeah.
you know, Publishers Weekly and Publishers Lunch, like what's coming out. And now that like the last chapter is like a much more like household name, like
Mhm.
publishers emailing me about stuff, authors emailing me about stuff. We also have like an author submission form. So like I go through
I
that very
love that.
often. And it's always changing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect and my shelves will never be perfect, but I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to learn through it. And like I'm sure I can tell you guys what I have now and then 6 months from now I'm like, "Oh, we also have this section and that."
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just never ending. And I think that's so cool. Like I think it's cool. I think that it's really fun to discover new books. It's really fun to discover new authors or like new representation I didn't realize was out there within the community.
Yeah. Okay, kind of on that same question line. How do you like sort out your books? Like, is it like this section's
Yeah.
YA, and then in that there's like,
Fam
black, or it's, the different
like
Yeah.
LGBTQ, like how
yeah,
do
like
you,
subgenres within it.
yeah.
Yeah, so like as a whole the shelves are all separated. So we have contemporary, I'm going in my head but on the shelf.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're walking through the
Contemporary
space.
sports, LGBTQ plus, BIPOC, dark, fantasy, YA, and historical. And
Ooh,
then
love
within those shelves, so we actually sort all of the shelves by author last name. But
it.
something
Mhm.
we've
Yeah.
implemented recently is like little flags that represent what's in that book. So we have
Love
pride flags that we
it.
stick into our books that are pride. And then I ended up actually just getting some white flags that I
Mm.
put the wording on. So like I'll say
Oh,
like, oh, like
yeah.
BIPOC author or like bi or bi representation or like just to inform people. And I also don't believe that all queer books and all BIPOC books should only be in those shelves. I think that
Mhm.
they need to be spread out. So,
Yeah.
you know, we have Haley Dennings. She is a black author, and we have her in fantasy. And people are like, well, why isn't she in BIPOC? Because she's more than just that.
Exactly. Can't just
Yes.
Um,
limit somebody
It's
just
the
for one
yeah, like
thing.
it's
Yeah.
those
more than
boxes
just that.
again.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes people will be like, oh, like you didn't have this author in your queer section, like, but did you look in sports because they also wrote a sports romance, like, you know what I
Yeah.
like, and I'm
Hmm.
and I'm always switching it out too. So like maybe for a month or two, like they're in the sports, and then I move them to the queer, like, but I always tell people like. yes, go to the sections of what you want, but also don't be afraid to like expand and like see what else
Yes.
is out there, because you also might come across an author that you're like, oh, I read that person 3 years ago. I know they had another book out.
Yeah.
Or you pick up a book and you're like, hey, like this isn't usually my speed, but it's hidden all the tropes that I would love to read.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God, I love that.
So why romance? Why did you choose romance only bookstore?
Yeah, romance has just always been a really safe space for me. I started reading romance when I was like 12 or 13 on Wattpad, which like my
Yes.
parents should have been checking when I
Literally.
why am I 12 years old reading a mafia romance? Like I don't know.
Yep.
But I think that it's always just been such a safe space for me. And I think that I actually remember specifically, so my godmother had passed away quite a few years ago from cancer. And I just remember feeling so lost. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know how to cope with it because like my parents weren't doing well. So like how could I add that burden? And that's that eldest daughter syndrome. But like how can I
Got
add
you.
that burden of my emotions
Yes.
like onto them? And I remember my friend at the time said, "Have you read the Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han?" And I said,
I love that movie.
I said
Or,
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
The show, yeah. I said no. And she was like, well, I think you should just read it. And for those of you who don't know, it is about Isabel Belly and obviously a bunch of other stuff. But the way I related to it was Susanna, which is her mom's best friend, like that's basically like her aunt. And I think it is her godmother as well, passes away from cancer. And I remember reading this book and like the series, and I've never felt so seen. Like, and yes, there's romance in it. You don't know me wrong. She falls in love with both brothers, all those things. But like,
Yeah.
it helped me in a way to like to say, hey, that's my emotion, and I didn't know a name for it. And I remember like finishing the series, and I felt like I went through the journey with her. Obviously, like
Yeah.
not including the romance, but if it felt so healing that if Belly can overcome this, like I can too. And I remember just going through that, and I said, there's so much to this genre that people just don't understand.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just like romantical relationships. It's friendship, it's family, it's healing, it's love after loss. It's so much, and it's a genre that I think can heal. Like I really truly with my whole heart believe that. Like don't get me wrong, I love the sex. I love all of it. Like
Yeah. No, we eat that up.
yeah, no, like with a spoon. Like I love it. But I think that like all of the other facets and like the good of it gets overlooked so much.
Yeah, there's definitely like a stigma around it
For
that we
sure.
need to just break through and get past.
Yeah.
And it's also so funny to me when people are like, well, I would never read romance. And then they tell me what they're reading. And I'm like, so there's romance in that.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
like there's actually like, there's romance in that. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not, you're stuck in your ways, but like literally that is a romance book. But like, go
Yeah.
off. That's fine.
Literally.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just, I wanted to give romance a special place. And then in Chicago specifically, because I will never forget, I went into a bookstore and this man named Greg, and I said, hey, like, can you show me your romance section? And he said, we don't carry that because it's a dying genre. Greg, if you hear this, boom.
Look
Like,
at that.
yeah, and it just like motivated me because I was like that stigma again, right? That you guys talked about, like this fucking stigma around romance, and it's just like, have you even given it a try? Like
Yeah.
beyond 50 Shades and beyond like the three romance books that people think are out. Literally,
Yeah.
like have you given it a try? And even 50 Shades, like let's dissect that because it's so much more than just like the dom sub, like you know what I mean? And I think that if people took off their rose-colored glasses
Yeah.
and really took the genre for what it was, it's just so much more than that. And I really wanted to highlight that and to cherish that and to celebrate that. I think that we're seeing so much growth within it now. Like, and outside of just like adult and YA books, like, there is a sector out there of not really romance, but like love related books for children, like, how to love
Yeah.
your adopted family, like how to love each other.
Yes.
And that's just as important as like a romance book, because at the end of the day, like books are love and love is love. And that's what we're celebrating.
That's the quote of the day.
Yep.
That's the quote of the day.
So, for people who may want to open their own bookstore, start that journey themselves, do you have any tips for anyone who would want to open one?
This is gonna sound crazy, but get a therapist. And I mean that with like
Ooh.
I you need a therapist because I think that when you are and not even just owning a bookstore, but when you're
Yeah.
entering into owning a business, your life changes in ways you don't know how. Um, and like so I've been in therapy for almost 2 years now. And I genuinely don't know how I survived like before this because this is the thing. Like when you open a business, when you open up a bookstore,
Mm.
everyone is so excited, right? Everyone is so excited and everyone loves and everyone wants to help. And then it stops.
Yeah.
And then it's, well, what do you mean you can't hang out? Or what do you mean you're working? Like your life just changes.
Yeah.
And it's something I wasn't ready for, I guess, in a sense, or like something I
Mm.
didn't anticipate, I think is a better word. And also too, just like the mental fatigue where you
Yeah.
don't answer to anyone else. Like you are like every decision lives and dies with you.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes, you just need someone who only cares about you and like it's very unbiased
Yeah.
to say like, hey, maybe this wasn't the best decision for you, or like, let's talk through, these troubles and workshop a healthier solution for you. So that is the first thing I recommend is like
No, I love that.
getting a therapist you love. I am a huge advocate for taking medication if you need it. Like I'm
Yeah.
very open about my journey with
Hmm.
taking SSRIs and everything like that.
Yeah.
Huge advocate for it. So like don't be afraid to advocate for yourself in that way as well.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
the second thing I would think is before you open up a bookstore, develop a place in the community as a reader first. I
Mm.
think that like now a lot of, different bookstores and things that are go like taking into fruition and not even just like romance based, but like very like niched bookstores and businesses. Because I think people see it as like the hot new thing or like oh it's so
Mm.
cool, like so and so did this, so like I can do it too, or like a quick cash grab.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why a lot of them either fail or not successful is because you didn't find a place in this community first. Like you didn't
Mm.
take the time, I think, to know this community and learn it. And it shows, I think that I have heard things from customers where they're just like, yeah, like I just went to this thing and you can just like tell they weren't a reader. So
Yeah.
I think like learn this community, and really fall in love with it. I think saying you read, 3 romance books a year isn't enough personally. I think that,
Mm.
um, this genre and this like the romance publishing industry is so community based. Like
Yeah.
develop your foothold that way first. The second thing I would recommend is have like just taking as many courses, gathering as much knowledge as you can, and being ready to think like it's a quote I heard. There's a difference between being a business owner, being a CEO, being a business owner, and being a manager. And
Mhm.
when you are stepping into this industry of owning a bookstore, you need to think like a CEO. Because if you
Yeah.
just think like an owner or a manager, you will always stay at that level that you're at. And it's also okay too if that isn't your goal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if
Hmm.
your goal is to just own this one bookstore, just to stay like just doing exactly what you're doing, there's also nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
like manage your expectations going into it. And
For
if you
sure.
do want to be at that CEO level, be willing to work for it. Like there are a lot of times you'll have to say no to a lot of things
Yeah.
because work has to come first and business has to come first.
Mhm.
And the last thing I would recommend is like never forget your why. Like why did you do this?
Yeah.
What drove you to this? Because I think in the hustle bustle of it, all the like a lot of it can get lost. A lot of it can, like some like there's even now there's days where I'm just like I'm so tired. Like I am
Yeah.
exhausted. I don't like I just don't know if I can go on. And it's crazy because I'm really big into like when you put things out into the universe answers. And
Yeah.
Hmm.
whenever I have moments like that, sometime that week, something will happen that reminds me why I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, you were dramatic then. Tighten up, girl.
Yeah.
You have a purpose, you have a place in this. And have fun with it. Like
Yeah.
have fun, be silly with your customers, get to know them on, a professional and a personal level, obviously to your boundaries, but
Right.
fun with it.
And I was like, while you're talking about that, I'm thinking, was it, I mean, obviously you can only talk on your experience, but do you think it was easier going online first and then transitioning into like a brick and mortar? Or,
Personally, yeah.
yeah.
I think because I knew, I knew the community as these two lenses,
Mhm.
but I didn't know the community as a business owner, and I didn't know being a business owner in general.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think growing my online presence and growing my like business name and brand through the online community in a lens where, hey, like I've been here, I've been a reader, but I'm trying to learn how to navigate this space.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that it also just prepared me a lot because I think like the mistakes I made when I first started,
Mm.
I had down packed to a T to assignments like when I opened up the bookstore, and there's
Yeah.
even things that, I think that's what's so beautiful about owning a business is like you're always learning, right? So like
Yeah.
there's even things that now I do without a second thought because it's so easy for me. But when I first
Mhm.
started, it would take me weeks to do. And I'm
Yeah.
sure like there's things that I'm struggling with now that I'm going to be doing next year. I'm going to be like, oh, I was stressed
Let's get
about
off my
that.
back.
Yeah.
But no, I absolutely think it was really good to start online first. And if we're just going to be honest, it's less of a risk, like
Yeah, for sure.
it's less of a risk if you start online first. And it's also okay if you just stay online. Like, I know there's plenty of online bookstores that just do pop-ups or they just do online, and that's all they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, no, I think if I could go back and change it, I wouldn't. I would do it exactly how I did it.
Okay, last thing, because I just keep thinking of things. I'm like, okay, if I was
Girl,
really
listen,
like,
I'm a yapper. I can actually
yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, and me, I like to learn,
Yeah.
whether I'm taking it
Hmm.
or not. I'm just like, I just love to learn.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, I guess kind of in the budget sense too, could you really just start with, $10 in your account? And on the kind of like second on that, since like now that you've, grown and developed and, gotten to the place where you're at now, do you think there's any like, I wish or if I do now, like hired an accountant or like hired a this or that, or now that I know I did that before, I actually don't even need that. Like in those two folds, like what do you think?
Absolutely. I think that again, there's less of a risk if you start online. So I think
Mhm.
that budgetary wise, you can start with less online.
Mm.
Um, but I also think that again, manage your expectations. So
Right.
if you can only afford to get your branding and stuff done for $100, you're gonna have $100 brand.
Right.
You
Hmm.
can obviously elevate it, like
Yeah.
my logo was $75 when I first started, like
Yeah.
literally $75. And you can elevate it, especially now, like I think we're so blessed in the day and age where we have access to so many like tools like Canva and
Yeah.
Photoshop and
Yeah.
Hmm.
all of those things, right? So like you can always elevate it in like a I hate to say mediocre, but like we're talking about the last chapter specifically. Like my mediocre
Mm.
brand when I first started, I was able to give a top-notch experience because I used what was at my disposal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like our little thank you cards, I would print them out in my printer, cut them myself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Those things. So I think there's a method to the madness, but you just have to get creative. Like there was times where I was like, hey, I really want to, spend some extra money on merch. I have to go work a few babysitting gigs to like buy those extra shirts. So like
Hmm.
Yeah.
try to get really creative, I think, when it comes to that side of it. Now, I will say opening up a physical location
Mm.
is a lot more money. But
Right.
Oh yeah.
I think that there's nothing wrong with taking loans out.
Yeah.
I took out a what they call like a mini micro loan to start our Chicago location.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it, but I think that when you are approaching a bank, you have to come with a business plan. You have to come with, you have to come
You gotta
correct.
come ready.
Prepared.
I also think it helps too since I started online. I had financials to show the bank that like, hey,
Yeah.
like this business has been profitable, like in this way, in this direction, and all of those things.
Right.
So I think that has definitely helped. And as far as things that I would like do differently, um, I think personally, I would have sourced some of the products we have in the store better. Like I went with a company that promised me the sun and the moon when it came to bookshelves.
Mm.
And then I got the ground and the weeds, So like,
Mm.
and I like, if full transparency, I spent $25,000 on our bookshelves for them to still come wet and broken.
No. I'd be crying in the bathroom on the floor.
I would be calling them up. We had a business.
Oh, no. So and it's funny because I'm never gonna name the company, but
Yeah.
I had planned my soft opening, my grand opening around my bookshelves arriving.
Right.
And so I planned it for a week after. I said it's gonna give me a week time to get it done and get everything.
Right.
They deliver them the day before. And they were trying to push it back. And I said, so I've already announced my grand open. Like, you actually can't push it back. So they said, okay, we'll have them delivered by 11 a.m. They delivered them at 6 p.m. the day before.
Oh,
Delivered them wet, delivered them. I still have the photo album. I have 175 photos of like the damages. And then didn't deliver them built, even though I was promised to have them built. So 6 p.m. and I looked at the shelves, and my brother, who was like, because they said, oh, if you can hang a mirror, you can put the bookshelves. You can, lever bookshelves. So I'm like, oh yeah, I hang mirrors all the time. Like me and my brother can knock this out. Me and him just stared at each other, and he said, I'm gonna fix this. And I said, I'm gonna go cry outside. So
right.
That'd be me. That'd be me.
I'm the brother.
yeah, I said, no, I'm gonna go cry outside. But then like I'm very much so like I need 10 minutes to cry and then I'm gonna get shit done. Like, I'm gonna lock in and get shit done. So I cried outside and then I was like, okay, we're gonna fucking fix this. Like we have people coming here in a few hours.
Yeah.
And we literally called all of our friends, and I was like, I will buy you guys pizza. Like I and my friends, like my tribe showed the fuck up for me. And me and my brother were there till I think it was 5 a.m. putting these.
Oh my gosh.
Together. Like, when you blink and your eyes hurt?
Yeah.
We were at that point. And I said, hey, like, we have to be back here in a few hours. Like, let's just go home and go to sleep. We were back at the store by 9 a.m. installing these bookshelves. Like,
oh my gosh.
Getting the store ready. So we finished the bookshelves at like 2 or 3 p.m. And then we had people arriving at 5 for our soft opening. And I was okay, I'm just gonna like lay on the floor and take like a good 30-minute nap. And then I had to literally like makeup, hair, all of this for people to come into the store.
Yeah.
So I would definitely like do my due diligence, I think, with that for sure.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like the basic things, hire an accountant, like, make sure you're paying your taxes correctly, because I went 8 months not paying my taxes correctly.
It's so quarterly taxes.
Yeah. Oh, because I said, no, yeah. I was like, yeah, I pay that. It's like only $13, every quarter. She was like, no, it's not. And I was like, oh, so like having an accountant,
okay.
And I think just like building a team, I think it's really important. Having a lawyer, having a few different lawyers, honestly, having an accountant, like having a team in place that knows you, knows your business, like knows what you're about, and can just ride for you, like my accountant now, we have monthly meetings, but I don't have to think about anything because we've been working together for 2 years now. So we're locked in.
We already know.
Yeah.
Right. So she's just like, hey, here are the reports, here are things I have questions on. And she's like, and there's just things that I've noticed you purchased this 2 months ago, so I already know what it goes to. Like, and I'm like, oh, perfect. Like when we first started, we were having weekly meeting,
Yeah.
But like building a team and building a strong team. And I always say like building a team of sharks, because we're all fishes in the sea, and you need those frontline people that are going to bite away everything, like, so like building a team of sharks. And also like, at least on like the creative side and like more of the admin side, know when something isn't working.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like having that talk to like, hey, maybe this wasn't the best person for me to hire.
Right.
Maybe this decision was actually a waste of money. Like knowing when something isn't working and being okay with walking away from things. I think one thing that I have really developed this year is separating my emotions from the business in a way that like this is a business decision. It doesn't reflect me or that person or like anything personal.
That's
Like
important.
this is what I'm doing that's best for the business. And like and again, I think because I'm also in a lot of therapy, I'm really big on communication.
Yeah.
It is my number one thing. I overly communicate for a purpose because I never want there to be any question as to what I mean.
Right.
Yep.
Also, in that same breath, if I hurt you or I say something, I want you to be able to tell me so that I can explain where I was coming, apologize, but I can
Yeah.
explain where I was coming from so that like it doesn't feel intentional. Because I remember when I used to work in corporate America, my bosses would say something that would hurt my feelings. And
Yeah.
then there wasn't that open line of communication for like clarification. So I'm very big on communication. So when it comes to like things not working or like things not working out, I'm very clear of like why it happened. And also that it's not personal, it is just business because sometimes things are a business decision, like
Yeah.
if I have to cut someone's hours because hey, like we haven't been making as much money as we should, or like
Yeah.
I have to cancel an event, like hey, like financially I'm losing a lot more money than I'm gaining from this.
Right.
I used to cry over every decision I made.
That'd be me.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
For
yeah,
real.
now I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't personal. Like that was literally a business decision and I have to do
Right.
what's best for my business because I want the last chapter to be around for years, not just the next year.
Exactly.
I love that mentality. No, literally, like,
No, I feel like this is so beneficial, especially like to the listeners, viewers who genuinely are trying to, open a bookstore business or any business really. So, I'm just like so much insightfulness. Like,
I know, because I think it's easy to have those daydreams of being like, oh, like I love books so much. And like, oh, I dream of having my own bookstore with a little bakery and a coffee shop. And, that's a wonderful dream. But then it's like, okay, how do I actually put pen to paper,
right.
get this figured out? And is it for me?
Like
Because
realistically,
yeah,
what
like
this actually looks like. Yeah.
yeah, and like, are you the person who can handle those things? I would never be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I know my limitations. Like, I have my own business as well, but it's not anything close to the scope of yours. And I'm like, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I went to therapy, I need therapy. You know,
That's what I'm saying. The therapist girl.
That's what I need.
I also think though, it's like, and I always tell people this, just because that's what my life looks like, it doesn't diminish your business, right? And it's like, and I think that sometimes people get so caught up in like, well, I'm only online and I'm only a pop-up. A business is a business.
Yeah.
True. Very
Like
true.
there's things that pop-up stores may deal with that I'm like, yeah, no, I actually couldn't handle that. And like,
Right.
and it's like that's one thing about this industry is I always tell people like don't diminish you or your business or anything behind it because it doesn't look like mine.
Yeah.
Like the last chapter is me. I've
Yeah.
cried tons of times. Fourth is like it is me and that's okay. Like and I think that comparison is a thief of joy. And
Yeah.
I think that especially in this industry, a lot of people get so caught up in that comparison aspect. And I mean, I do too. Like, don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
absolutely do too. Like, I have crash outs about things all the time.
Yeah.
But that's their business. Mine is my business. And like, it again, it doesn't make me a bad business because I couldn't get so and so author to come to my store. Like, I couldn't get
Right.
this author to do a pre-order campaign. But but yeah, so and it's also like you were saying, for people to know what it is going into it because I get inquiries all the time like how do I start a business? How did it? And like sometimes it's really overwhelming for me
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
because I'm just like how do I explain all of this? And also too like I like and no shade to anyone, but sometimes I think people like you said like they romanticize it and
Yeah.
glamorize
Yeah.
it and then, like they don't really want to hear the hard work. They just want to hear like the benefits and the outcome.
Right.
And like when people ask, like I'm like, yeah, I've been working 7 days a week pretty much the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I'm never really off. And if I'm off, it's because I'm sick. Like literally I have to be sick to have a break. But that's the life I chose. And I'm okay
Right.
with that. So yeah, all those things.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I love that. And then I know, like, since we encompassed, okay, this is a bookstore, we started this out, it grew to this point. Now, with your bookstore, like, we would call it an indie bookstore,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then what's your opinion versus indie bookstore versus like getting your books on Amazon or some large corporation?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I want to say, at least specifically when it comes to like the independent romance author community, I
Mm,
am a huge advocate for Kindle Unlimited. Yes, I know that is an Amazon product, but a lot of authors unfortunately don't have their resources or ways to get their books on the shelves of bookstores, but where
yeah.
they can get their books is on Kindle Unlimited. And I think
Yes.
there is so much love that should be poured to authors that are KU authors. And I know like people are like, that's such a hot take. I don't think so because I think that
Yeah.
those author voices matter just as much as the authors on the bookshelf. So
Right.
my little shout out, I love Kindle Unlimited. If you are a reader, if you are a romance reader, please utilize it. Like find
Mhm.
new authors that way, like spread some love to them. Huge, huge advocate of that. As far as the other aspect, I think that what you don't get on Amazon that you get in independent bookstores is that experience. And it's a very curated experience because
Mhm.
Yeah.
you can't actually walk into Amazon and ask for a book recommendation. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
you can't walk into Amazon and go to an author signing or go to a community event or a watch party or make your own, bookmark party. Like Amazon sees you as just a number in their database versus
Yeah.
know your name and know your kids' names and know your pet name. Like it's a level of care that you will not get at Amazon. And yeah, I know some people are like, well, Amazon ships quicker than Amazon that. Right, but like you're supporting your community because I'm
Yeah.
literally your community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a reader just like you. Like I'm literally your community. So you're supporting the community, but it's also like Amazon's not packing your package with love. They're not,
Hmm.
spending hours emailing authors for book plates and pre-order campaigns and artwork and all of that to include in your orders. Um, you're missing that part. And it's also too like community-based things only grow if the community pours into them. And I
Yes.
Exactly.
think that that is so overlooked by people because they love the idea of an independent bookstore being around
Hmm.
and they love the idea of like the last chapter in a romance only bookstore. But if you aren't putting your money where your mouth is, places like mine will cease to exist.
Right.
And and I know like some people argue with me all the time, like, well, it's just cheaper to get on Amazon and I'm on limited funds and I'm on this and I'm that. I understand all of those things, but then you also, in the same breath, can't email a bookstore asking to donate 12 books to your book club when you shop on
Yeah.
Amazon. You know,
Right.
you can't ask an independent bookstore to donate to your gala or donate to your rescue fund or, all of these things if you aren't supporting them back. And I like recently just talked about this. Like, I'm so tired of this stigma that if you're an indie bookstore, if you're a romance bookstore, you have to support everyone and you have to be, like you have to spread the love and spread your money when it's not
Mhm.
being received back. Because,
Right.
you know, and the keyboard warriors of the world, um, I, I think that people love to talk a big game online,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but are you actually in the store to voice your opinions, or have you even ever been a customer of the store to say that you had a bad experience? Or,
Right.
like
Exactly.
I've gotten before people are like, well, you're closed on Monday, and that's inconvenient for me. But I'm open 6 other days of the week.
Right.
Literally.
Like, and it's not only that I'm open 6 other days of the week, I have 3 events this week. I have 4 events next week. I donate all the time. Like it's so much that I do on like
Yeah.
the other side of it where
Yeah.
but you're okay with supporting Amazon, who your number, your experiment 642 or whatever, like, and leave
Literally. Like we know the
like,
track record.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like, I like from, like, if I look at it in different lenses, from a consumer standpoint, I understand that Amazon is easier. Amazon is sometimes cheaper. It's just like quick, easy, done and done.
Mm,
But what independent bookstores give you outside of just a purchase is it's not replicable. Like you
yeah.
Mhm.
can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Um, so I implore people to just shop more intentionally. Um, and just if you're a part of the community, be a part of the community.
Yeah.
And if you can't support like monetarily, like support other ways, like,
Right.
share your stuff or recommend it or like all these different like facets of it. But overall, it's just that sense of community. You can't get it anywhere else. And no one is gonna fight harder for you than the community that you're in.
Absolutely. Oh, God.
No, seriously.
Oh, God. All right, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the pod and for just discussing everything that comes with you and having a bookstore and everything in between. I feel like I've learned so much, genuinely, and I absolutely am so thankful that you came on here. So,
Yes.
absolutely, thank you.
Yeah. And then don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the TBR Podcast, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at the.tbr.podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's honestly been such a joy. And I just can't wait to see all the things that you guys accomplish with your podcast and in your lives personally. You can follow us, follow us on social media. Our storefront page on Instagram is at the last chapter CHI. And then if you want to get to know me on a personal level, I do have a public Instagram now, and it is at all about that romance, which I talk all the crazy things, post the hell out of my dog, but it's just, I created a platform that was my personal one that you can get to know me as Amanda, the reader, not just Amanda, the business owner.
Amazing. And we'll put her links down below, so go check those out.